Good morning and welcome to Peace Out Take Two. If it doesn't work this time, I'll just turn the Wi-Fi off. I switched to my other thingy, whatever they're on there. I've got two things. One's better than the other. So I use it for VR so I can play games. Anyway, I hope you're having a good day and I hope you're piecing out a little bit better than I am. But I'm not. I'm pieced out. You know what? It ain't no big deal. We just keep going till we can't, right? We just do what we can with what we've got and just continue doing and going as long as we can. And when we can't, we just can't, right? It'll be that time. But right now, we get to talk about some cool stuff about God. So we've been talking about Peter a lot the last few days, talking actually about how he denied Jesus almost to his face. Immediately afterwards, he saw that his eyes met Jesus and he just said, I didn't know him. So that's interesting when you look at 1 Peter 3:15, because he says this. He says, he said, let me back up a little bit. It says, now who will want to harm you if you are eager to do good? But even if you suffer for doing what is right, God will reward you for it. So don't be afraid. Now, this is important. Don't be afraid and don't worry. Instead, you must worship Christ. And if you are asked about your Christian hope, always be ready to explain it. This is a dude that said, nope, I don't know him, 3 times before the rooster crowed in the morning, right before morning light. He had denied Christ 3 times. Nope, I don't know him. Nope, I don't know him. Nope, I don't know him. And yet here he is in his latter years writing, always be ready to explain the hope you have in Christ. See, that's an interesting story to me because Peter was far from perfect. He was a lot like some people I know, like me, talk first and think later, or they react, or they act out first. And I was like, wow, that's really pretty cool. So as I started thinking back about that and about how he said, be ready to give an answer for the hope that's in you, because he had been in that moment where he wasn't ready. He didn't have his thoughts together. He was scared. He was so afraid that if they kill him, they're going to kill us. He was out of fear and out, probably just straight up fear, right? He said, I don't know him. But here's the coolest thing about him coming later in his life, because we see him all through Acts where he stood up, in Acts chapter 2 and delivered a great message, and thousands were saved. Thousands came to Christ. He was one of the leading disciples, apostles, I should say, after Jesus did ascend back up into heaven. Peter finally got it together. See, God didn't disqualify him because he flat out denied that he even knew Jesus. God didn't say, well, you messed it up and now I'm not going to use you. So, all right, there's that. No, he didn't. As a matter of fact, in Mark 16, it says when Jesus rose from the dead and the ladies came, and Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, they all came to see him on that the mother of James, it says, they came to see him. He said to them, don't be alarmed. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. This is the angel. He is it? I saw a young man clothed. Yes. Okay. He is risen. He is not here, but see the place where they laid him. But go tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you into Galilee. That's where you'll see him, just like he told you. Go tell the disciples and don't forget Peter. What I love about that is Jesus didn't throw him away, even when he flat out denied he knew him. Jesus didn't take offense. Did it hurt his heart? I'm sure. But he didn't take that rejection. He didn't take that, and he didn't say, I can't use you now. You broke a trust, which he did, but Jesus knew he was going to, right? But he didn't say, go tell all the disciples except Peter. I don't want Peter to come. I'm not going to use Peter now because he really messed up. No, Jesus didn't throw him away. He didn't reject him. He didn't shun him. He didn't put him over the side. As a matter of fact, he specifically said, don't forget to get Peter. Make sure you get Peter, because I got something I want to do with Peter, right? And now here Peter is later in his life. He lived through all of that. He saw Jesus crucified. He witnessed that he was raised from the dead. And now he boldly says, don't be afraid to answer those who ask about that hope, those who ask you, do you know him? Answer them. It's okay to answer them now, right? And so here he is later, and he's not rejected, and he understands. And so but he sat with Jesus. In the last chapter of John 21, Jesus said this. Jesus asked Peter this. He said, do you love me? And Peter said, yeah, of course I love you. And Jesus said, no. Go down. I want you to feed my lambs. That's babies, right? And then he asked him another time. He said, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me? Peter said, yes, Lord, you know I love you. 2, he says, then tend my sheep, take care of, feed the babies, take care of my sheep, the adults. And then he said to him a third time, do you love me? Peter was grieved because he asked him a third time. It hurt his feelings. And he said, a third time, do you love me? And he said, Lord, you know all things. And you know I love you. And Jesus said, go and feed my sheep. I think it's interesting that he asked him 3 times, do you love me? Because Peter denied him 3 times. So it's almost like Jesus let him make those 3 things up. It's like, okay, we got this all balanced out because I knew you loved me before you even rejected me. I knew you loved me, Peter, before you said, no, I don't know him. I know God, Jesus, it's like Jesus understood that Peter was scared. And he didn't say, well, you are fearful, so you have no part in the kingdom. So you're just, you know what? Sometimes we get scared. Sometimes we get nervous. Sometimes we feel rejected. Sometimes we feel abandoned. Sometimes we don't know what we feel. Sometimes we don't know how to express what we feel. And Jesus doesn't say, oh, well, never mind. Let me find somebody else. Who else you going to find that ain't got no fear, right? That doesn't deal with issues. He's not going to find somebody better anyway, because he wanted Peter. Because he knew that Peter had the tenacity to stand up, as we see through the book of Acts. After Peter came through this, and this was a very hard thing for him. When he looked at Jesus and he realized he had just denied him 3 times, but he also must have realized at the same time that Jesus had already told him he was going to do that. So Jesus already knew and still ministered with him, still took him, still chose him, still called him, still walked with him, still shared the secrets of the kingdom with him, right? And so Peter had to look back on all that, like, yeah, but he saw Jesus look at him and he said he went out and he wept bitterly. Now here we are on the other side of the resurrection, and Jesus is asking him 3 times, do you love me? And he's like, maybe he's just kind of balancing that out, because I told them 3 times I didn't know him out of fear. God did not throw him away. And then we have Peter in 1 Peter saying, be ready to give an answer. Be ready in case somebody asks you, do you know him? Absolutely know him. I absolutely walk with him. And Peter ended up being a martyr for Christ. As a matter of fact, it says here that he said, when you were younger, you girded yourself and walked where you wanted to, but when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and another will carry you where you do not wish. It says he spoke, signifying the death that he would have, that he would glorify God. Even in his death, Peter glorified God. He got over it. Sometimes we get stuck in our mistakes. Sometimes and maybe they're big like Peter's, right? They're not necessarily little. We think they're bigger. We mess up, and in our actions we deny Christ, or in our actions we act like we don't trust him. When we don't peace out, when we don't let that peace reign, we're acting like we can't trust him. And we've got something bigger than him to be afraid of, because if our trust of him is bigger than our fear, it's going to press it down, right? And we're going to be able to give it to God and walk with him. And so, but Peter's denial was not bigger than what God was going to do with him all through the book of Acts. And here Peter is in his later years going, be ready to give an answer. When somebody asks you, do you know him? Be ready to give an answer, even if you're imperfect, even if you're afraid, even if you aren't sure where you're going, even if you're uncertain, even if you are fill in the blank. Be ready, because you have hope in you. And Peter could see that from this side, even though he couldn't feel it from that side. And so I encourage you today to just trust God. Nothing you've done is big enough to make God change his mind about you. Jesus didn't say, go get the disciples except for Peter. He said, go get all of them. Make sure you get all of them, and make sure you bring Peter specifically because he wanted to sit and talk with him and say, I still love you. I still need you. I still called you. He didn't say, oh, Peter's out. Never mind. He would have had to throw all 12 of them away. They was a mess. All of them. These kids, they were just kids. They were teenagers. They were all a mess. But he doesn't change his plan even when we have a mess up. And I don't think any of us have messed up quite as big as we want to measure this mess up with Peter, right? Oh, he really messed up because he denied Jesus 3 times right there, almost to his face. And Jesus is still saying, go take care of my sheep. I did not change my call that I put on your life because you messed up over there. I'm not going to change what I purposed for you before I said, let there be light, because you messed up. God's plan doesn't fluctuate with us, our obedience or disobedience. He just wants to walk through time with us, and he will not change his mind about us, and he will not cast us away, and he will not reject us, even if we are a royal mess up. It's not like he didn't know before he called us. It's not like he didn't know before he went to the cross. He knew and went anyway because he loves us and wants to walk through time with us. We can trust him with ourselves, with our mistakes, with our successes, with our lives in time. That's why we can peace out. He's got us covered. Peace out. Have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.